What's trending? Presented by Tim Daly Nissan, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Let's go ahead and sweeten the topic, shall we, with ice cream on the mind. News continues to roll in for BYU men's basketball.
Crazy day
Some of it eye-opening, some of it very exciting, some, well, not so exciting because it could potentially set BYU back. We'll let you decide after all of this. Beginning with BYU forward Jaxson Robinson making it official on his social media accounts that he is declaring for the NBA draft.
He didn't say it, Spence. He declared it.
He declared it. And just to be clear, this doesn't mean that he cannot reverse course. We'll get into that in just a moment.
Yeah.
This is just letting you know that, okay, I'm going to try and go full in on this, and then we'll see what happens.
He had until Saturday night to do that.
So there you go. All right. Jarom, what's your reaction first and foremost to Jaxson Robinson's declaration that he is pursuing full force the NBA draft?
I declare for the NBA draft. I think that's what he said. This is what we expected. Excited for him. He's developed into a guy who has this opportunity. Alex Barcelo 2.0. Hear me out. Barely played 2 years at another places. Comes to BYU, becomes a name that people know nationally. Congratulations to Mark Pope and his staff who did that. Jaxson Robinson who worked hard. Sixth man of the year in the Big 12, baby. So he has a few options here. One is he just straight up goes pro. Let's assess that for a second. He is a second-round pick or not a pick in all mock drafts. He is not a first in a single mock draft. Normally, that guy, Spence, goes back to college, betters his stock, and then he tries to get into the first round. But it depends what Jaxson Robinson wants. If he wants to just kind of be like, hey, if I get drafted or not and I don't make a team and I'll be in the G League and I'll try and go up, I'm okay with that. I'm done with college. I just want to do that. He has that option. Another option is this. He has to return to college. It was May 29th, but the rules that just got changed are he has to get back in the portal before May 1st. But because Mark Pope left, he has 30 days from April 12th, which is May 12th. So he has until May 12th to hop back in the portal. That's if he wants to transfer. If he just wants to straight up come back to BYU, he can just come back to BYU by May 29th, is my understanding. Now, maybe that's May 1st with the new ruling. If that's the case, that's 1 week from now. My guess is that Jaxson Robinson stays in the draft and sees what happens for him. So I'm excited for him. It's very different because we kind of expected this, and he immediately told us and had the thank you BYU post. Have we learned in the last 2 weeks that a thank you BYU post is necessary to win over the Cougar Nation? Because the way Mark Pope handled it didn't help. Like, Cougar Nation didn't really like it, right?
It is in major college sports in general.
Yeah.
It's not just a BYU thing.
It took a week, and people were like, well, it's taken a week. Cody Feger, Jaxson Robinson, right? They have done it in a way that has endured them to BYU.
Endeared them, yeah.
Endeared them, yes. So I expect Jaxson to stay in the draft. I don't expect him to come back or transfer, but who knows? Best of luck to him. I'm excited for him.
I'm excited for him, too, and here's what I love about this scenario. As much as it hurts to lose just a next-level talent like Jaxson and the Big 12 Sixth Man of the Year, that's a lofty title.
He's a good player.
In the best basketball conference in America. I know some of you are saying, well, not in the NCAA tournament.
He was awesome in the NCAA tournament.
Body of work, people, over the course of the season. Yeah. Jaxson was awesome in the tournament, and frankly, that vaulted his status back up a few notches. Like, all of a sudden, he was trending in NBA draft projections, and again, it was like, oh, maybe he's a mid-second round pick. He's got all the intangibles. He's an elite shooter. The thing I love most about this is that he would be leaving BYU, and BYU would have produced a draft pick for the first time since Jimmer Fredette. It has been 13 years since BYU had an NBA draft pick. I want it to be Jaxson Robinson.
That'd be great.
Just for the optics that you can go to BYU and you can be an NBA player. And Kevin Young only helps that conversation. I know Jaxson didn't play for him, but Jaxson will always count as a BYU guy, and BYU helped him get to the NBA. The optics need to change there because, frankly, it's pretty dire.
Oh, yeah. No, BYU's not been good in that space.
That's what excites me the most about this is that Jaxson has an opportunity to be BYU's first draft pick in 13 years, and I feel like that helps perception.
Hopefully he'll get into the second round. Hopefully he tests well, he shows well, and someone takes him on a second round.
I hope
That'd be great.
Yes, I hope he does.
It's hard, bro. There are 450 NBA players in the worord. It's hard to crack.
And Kyle Collinsworth told us yesterday, since the inception of the NBA in its current state, 5,500 players total.
I'd have to do the math on that, Spence. Double check that because I believe it's more. But that's wild. Even if it was only 10,000 all the time. Like, that's crazy, right? Okay, Atiki Ally Atiki entered the transfer portal yesterday. So that means 5 dudes are in the portal or going pro with Jaxson Robinson. We got Robinson, Dallin Hall, Richie Saunders, Atiki Ally Atiki now, and Marcus Adams Jr. The returners are Trevin Nell, Noah Waterman, Foose, Dawson Baker, Trace Stewart. That's kind of what it is. Isaac Davis is signed. There's another high-profile commit, of course, earlier this week. It looks like about 6 scholarships available.
Okay.
What do you make of Atiki going to the portal and how it affects the roster?
So I think a lot of BYU fans are like, well, it's a guy that was deep down the bench and, you know, he didn't have a huge impact on last season. I probably took more issue with this than most because where's the size on BYU's roster right now? Like, after Atiki, if Atiki is gone, where's the guy that's over 6'6", Jarom?
It's Noah Waterman.
That's it!
Yeah. Well,
he's
you bring
not
him in, Doc.
your prototypical big man.
Right.
He's a stretch 4.
You bring him in.
I understand that, but to have a rim protector on the roster who has been in the system and has been around, like, I know Atiki is still raw in many ways, but I thought, okay, at least BYU's got one rim protector in Atiki, and now he's gone, potentially. Like, who knows if he finds a landing spot? I don't know. Maybe he'll come back to BYU. This, again, just because he went into the portal doesn't mean, like, he can't end up back at BYU, but now it just makes it that much more of a problem for Kevin Young and his staff to go and get another big. Like, the only bigs are Foose and Waterman, but Waterman doesn't really count.
It's Foose.
It's a big.
And you'll probably get 3 others, by the way. Typically, you want to carry 4 scholarship front court players. Okay, so it's Foose and 3.
Say what you will about Atiki, but he did have nice rapport with the guards, and there were alley-oop plays and lobs, and again, his ability to protect above the rim and 5 critical important fouls when they needed it.
He had, he had some skill, right? It had been 3 years. We hadn't kind of seen him take that next step. He was hampered by a thumb injury last year. That didn't help him. So it is a bummer if BYU does lose to Atiki. But, yeah, you've got to add. Certainly there's going to be a lot of new guys, for sure. Right now you have 5 plus 2 in your roster. 5 returners, it looks like 2 out of high school, and then plus 5. Who knows where those will come from, but I'm excited and confident they'll be good players.
Sure. Yeah, I'm confident as well. It's just another thing for Kevin Young and his staff to potentially deal with.
But also when you're the new guy and you got a new thing, you kind of want, like, to bring in certain pieces that are pre-existing, but also like some new flavor. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but here we go.
All right, last bit of news. Well, I guess we have 2 more bits of news, but the next bit of news we're going to discuss. Head coach Kevin Young officially hires Brandon Dunson as his first assistant coach, coming from Stanford now to Provo. What do you make of the hire that we had heard had been in the works for a while now? Like, it had been discussed by multiple people on the show. We had mentioned his name.
Yep.
Matt and Orlando doubled down on Monday. Now it's official. What do you think?
I like it. It's always good to have a guy from the outside, if not multiple, right, who aren't like a former BYU player and not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I like to hire a lot. Brandon's excited. He had a great post last night talking about playing for a great fan base and a great school and whatnot. He's been at Stanford the last 2 years. He was not kept over with the new head coach, Kyle Smith, who, by the way, was at San Francisco, went to Washington State, and now he's the Stanford guy. He's been at Denver and Fullerton and so on and so forth. Young guy who was influential in getting some really notable recruits, namely Andrei Stojakovic last year, who was a McDonald's All-American, but only averaged 8 points a game. He was at Nevada. Caleb Martin, Cody Martin, Jalen Harris, like future NBA guys. He's been around good players as well. So I think it's a really good hire, and it's the first of several. BYU has 4 more spots.
It's pretty simple. Every BYU fan should feel really, really good about this hire because it was Kevin Young's first. And we all are big on Kevin Young's opinion as a guy that can develop NBA talent and all of the positivity around him and what he brings to BYU. If he feels like Brandon Dunson needs to be on his staff and you truly trust like what Kevin Young is and who he is and buy into the hype, then you should feel good about this. And right now I do. It was the first name that popped up in the assistant coaching search was Brandon Dunson. So I was like, who's this guy? And then, yeah, as we just chronicled and you just laid out, he's a guy that's been around. He's been an associate head coach. He's done some things. But frankly, if Kevin Young believes in this dude and he comes as the double minority.
I think Ben Criddle was the one that coined that.
Okay.
AKA not white, not a member of the church.
Sure. Yeah, that matters. It matters for BYU. But frankly, in Kevin Young, we trust. And in Kevin Young, I trust. Yeah. If he values this guy, like, I'm all in.
I'm stoked. Let's go. Can't wait to meet him, man. Okay, last but not least, lots going on yesterday. BYU will play at Providence in the Big 12 Big East battle next season, according to John Rothstein. Let's take a look at the updated what we know / been reported non-conference schedule. At Wyoming in football and men's basketball. What? At Providence, Queens, Central Arkansas, and then 2 of these 3, Spence, Purdue, Notre Dame, Arkansas. John Calipari.
Oh, man.
In San Diego. That's a great tournament, by the way, at the Rady Children's Invitational.
And the national runner-up, potentially.
Yep. So, hopefully they'll lose a bunch of pieces. Edie's gone for sure. 6 of the 11 non-conference games because the Big 12 will go to 20 conference games. Do you like the schedule so far?
Yes, it's plenty tough. Like, you don't need anybody else.
Mail it in the next 5?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Absolutely. Like, you've got enough on there because now the Big 12 goes to 16 teams and you're bringing over Utah, Colorado, and Arizona.
Little sisters of the poor.
And Arizona State, yes, but like, I know you're saying goodbye to Texas and Oklahoma, but the conference somehow I feel like will get better.
Arizona and Colorado are
like,
right?
They're better teams than Oklahoma and Texas as currently constituted.
Please make it manifest. All those in favor. Yeah, it's crazy. No,
it's enough.
And like at Providence, by the way, BYU won 2 NCAA tournament games in 1981 in Rhode Island. So there's some history there, which is really
I want
fun.
5 quad 4s. I want 5 more quad 4s.
I'm with you.
On the schedule.
At Wyoming's a quad 2 at best. At Providence will be, you hope, quad 1, right? Queens is quad 4 probably. Central Arkansas quad 4.
Well, and how many non-conference games will there be? Are they going to play 20?
11.
Are they going to play 20 conference games? Yeah, we've learned that. So 11 non-conference games.
I've confirmed that the anticipation is that it will be 11.
Okay.
Yep.
So there you go.
Used to be 13.
5 quad 4s, please, because at Wyoming will be at worst a quad 3 at Providence, quad 1
Can
probably.
BYU somehow play slick? Dave Rice, what's up? No, they're not.
I know you don't want to back down from anybody.
Hey, Tipview High coming to pro.
Like, did a weak non-conference really hurt BYU that much last year? Maybe a hair. It didn't feel like it hurt
that
BYU
way
very much.
Everybody plays quad.
Did it hurt the Ken Palm ratings and their net ranking?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Because you're playing the best conference in America.
Yeah, baby.
All right.
Speaking of.
Our question of the day. 1 week into the Kevin Young era, how would you assess the state of BYU basketball right now?
Oh, yeah.
At Joe Brady 12 on X answers, I would assess it as different. Okay. In my opinion, there are too many unknowns. I like the direction, but I feel like it's trying a new flavor of ice cream. Apparently, this is ice cream show.
You want some Pope's ice cream? They got plenty at the creamery still.
Joe Brady says, it sounds good, speaking of the ice cream, but until you try it, you don't know.
Right. We don't know what that roster is going to look like. Hopefully, we'll see it soon.